Hi, I'd like to welcome you to McMurray Métis. My name is Don Scott. I'm the Executive Director. I am joined by a very special guest today, and we're going to talk about the history and some of the exciting things you can look forward to as an employee of McMurray Métis. This is Brian Fayette, the current Elder of the Year from 2023 to 2024. Brian, say hi.
Hi everyone, welcome. I hope to give you some good information.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the mission of McMurray Métis. What you're going to see is it's on the screen right now. And please have a look at it, and we live by that mission. So you're going to be a big part of that, and welcome aboard, welcome to the team. We have a great environment here at McMurray Métis, and there's a lot of history to understand about why this organization exists and what it is trying to accomplish. Brian, take it away.
So historically, McMurray Métis got registered in 1987. It was part of the Métis Nation of Alberta. They wanted to get everyone together so that we could work together. You know, more people do you draw together, the better and bigger you are, stronger you are. They started to advocate for their members here. And since then, of course, they've grown and expanded, and today we have a larger operation. I just recall back in around 2004, 2005, they set their goals out for what they wanted to do: governance, education, something for the students, diversity. They were always interested in the cultural center. I want to mention that. The old timer that was pushing for that was Grant Goloski, Doug's brother, since passed away. He was one of the original presidents. So they have a long history here in this community about advancing the Métis people and their dreams and their hopes and aspirations. So that goes back then, and we've then since picked it up. The local put together a system, really, is what we did, so that we could operate and function here. So we're dealing with industry, dealing with government, dealing with local governments, federal, provincial governments, dealing with our own Métis governments, and then dealing with our own operations.
As you can tell, McMurray Métis is all about the amazing team, the amazing people that we have here. Brian's right at the forefront of that, but we do have an amazing staff, and you're going to get to know them all over time, but they're all integral, and we really believe in our team and really believe in our staff. You're also going to see a lot of symbols around McMurray Métis, and one of the critical symbols, one of the key symbols, is the flag. You can see it in the background up there, although the wind is not blowing, of course. But do you want to talk about the flag?
So the flag was first used in 1816, I believe, was at the Frog Plain, or what they called Seven Oaks. It was a battle. Cuthbert Grant formed a group. They formed their own Métis Association and flew the flag for the first time. So that's where it began. If you look at it, it has the infinity sign on it, symbol. They said, we're not going away. We're going to be here for a long time, forever. You know, that's kind of the idea behind that flag. And so since then, we've adopted several flags. That blue flag was by the French side. Later it was Hudson Bay Scottish Métis got together. And so now we have two flags. I don't pick one side or the other. They're both our flags.
Talk about the history of the Red River Cart and the Red River generally.
Métis, if you want to call it, evolved in around the Red River area, Winnipeg, if you want to call it that, St. Boniface, all of that whole area. They evolved as a peoples. So you had the mixture of French and the various First Nations in the area. So in that area would have been a lot of Saulteaux of all peoples. And I say that because we always think of ourselves up here with the Cree. So depending where you are, what part of the country you're in, that's how the Métis, when they mix with the French, and then it became Scottish. The English were a little more reserved. If you know their history, they have ownership need. If you take you on, then they got to share their property with you. French were like, nice to see you later. Kind of, c'est la vie. So that's us too, probably, where we get that crazy attitude from. But in any case, it kind of evolved from there and expanded from there and became a big population. Evolved, when I say that, they evolved as a culture. So that means they were quite religious, quite Catholic or Anglican. They developed their own food, music, and dance. They developed their own language. They used the French, but they used the Cree, they used the Saulteaux language. And pretty soon they were mixing it up so you couldn't tell what they were talking about unless you were part of that community. Then this Red River Cart played a major role in it. They used this for transporting goods. So originally it would have been the rivers. They hauled their goods down the river. But it became so that it wasn't enough, because with Edmonton and all the forts along the North Saskatchewan and other places, they needed better ways to haul their products. So these things, the original ones actually could carry up to 2 tons. And so they could move product across Canada, if you will, or from the central Canada for the Hudson Bay and the Northwest for trading companies and to various communities. So that's what the Red River Cart was. You could see them in trains and stuff like that. So they opened up this country. They were able to travel and move product. That's what this thing was. The sash, I get a charge out of people because today's sash for the younger people this is a very beautiful product. You wear it, it looks very fancy, but originally these were just like a tool. You would use it for tying down your goods on your cart or your horse or your blankets. So it was a useful tool. In fact, I remember my grandfather's was a pretty raggedy tool, but he tied his bundles down. He used it all for all kinds of purposes, but these are pretty.
What about beading?
Beading.
I'm wearing some beading, but you want to talk about the history of beading and how important it is to the Métis people?
So beads come with Europeans. When they brought the beads over, the women would bead mostly in the winter when they had time to spare. And in the winter, you're sitting around. So pretty soon they were beading the moccasins, they were beading their jackets, they were beading dog harness, horse harness, they were beading anything they could bead. Today the ladies come here and they do wonderful beading work of all kinds of things and about everything. But it was a lot of floral. But it's not only floral, those animals that they put on the back of their jackets or the side of their arms. But floral was a huge part of that.
And jigging. We need to talk about jigging.
People talk about jigging, but I'll talk to you about Métis dancing. So Métis dances, jigging is just one small portion of it. I say that because if you went to a dance, you started in the evening at 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. If you ever jig, you could probably last 2 minutes. I mean, that's just a very robust kind of a dancing, you know. Some of them can actually dance up to an hour. Those young people, I've been watching them. But they have many other kind of dances. They have the drops of brandy, the duck dance, various kinds of square dances and waltzes and all the kind of stuff. And jigging is kind of right in the middle. They'll have a jigging contest. They'll have brick all out and everybody just who can do the fastest and best dance. So it's part of an evening event is what it is. A great dance where all men and women get together and have a good evening. But the dancing was a very important part. In the old houses, they'd literally throw the furniture out, and all you had was 1 or 2 chairs, but it was sitting room only, and dance all evening. Yeah, probably the only guy that got to have a chair was a fiddler.
Do you want to talk about harvesting and the land, the importance of land?
It's a kind of a philosophy. So land, you know how you hear people talk about, I own this land, but really our language would be the land owns us, means it feeds us, it takes care of us. So if you watch a lot of our old timers, they actually didn't understand that the language of ownership of land, because it was meant for everybody where animals lived. They had a mixed farming, if you want to call it, the Métis. They had their horses and their cows and their chicken, but they weren't large grain farmers, so they were kind of limited in that. But they hunted a lot. They used the lands for their medicines and foods and gathering animals, all kinds, like ducks and fish. And the moose was just one part of it, rabbits, anything you can imagine. So yeah, harvesting was big. It was men and women, so just so we're clear, it's not just the men. Yeah.
And we have a beautiful garden here that we harvest every year at McMurray Métis. It's truly amazing. We have an amazing trapper's cabin. You want to describe?
Yeah, the trapper's cabin is kind of funny. If you've ever seen a cabin, they're probably 10 by 10 maybe. So you could put a little stove in there and that place just heats right up. Just warm as can be. So the trappers were enjoying their winter out there. They were able to put a little table, their little bed, and their traps and their goods, and that's how they'd survive on the lands for a longest time. And so we use that here. It's obviously a duplicate, the fancier version. I'm not sure the old timers' cabins were that fancy, but we wanted to say this is how beautiful they can be, and they are. The cabin's a pretty significant place with the Métis people, yeah.
You'll see on Brian's jacket, he has the symbol of McMurray Métis right above the McMurray Métis name. That's got quite a history, doesn't it?
There's a good video story on this particular one. They had been farmed out or asked young people to give us a logo that was fitting for this community. And so the young man did a whole story on it. He talked about what this all meant to him, the historical perspective, the going forward, computer kind of stuff, and of course the son, and then the person that's in there. You can't tell if it's a male or a female, kind of tried to make it a general person. So I thought that was interesting. It's unique to this community.
And the Cree language. I know that's important to the Métis people and something that you have taught. I've seen you teach it.
I share words I know.
Yeah.
I was taught one word at a time. There's actually a very conversational Cree that I'd like to learn. And we've had Cree instructors coming to help us out. but I think we've used a lot of Cree words around here, if you noticed. So Cree has been a very important part to the Métis people in this area, in Alberta, but the actual Cree people come out of northern Quebec, and they came with the fur trading business, Northwest Fur Trading, Hudson Bay, and the Cree people mixed it up with the people in this area. The original people here were Dog Ribs and Slavies and Dene and Blackfoot were more prevalent back in the original days, but the Cree kind of became the big population and mixed it up with the Scotch and various people. Thus, we became the Métis people.
If you're advising somebody about being respectful towards the Métis people or Indigenous people generally, what advice would you give?
Treat people as you want to be treated. If you get to know us, I think of ourselves as pretty funny people. We're pretty humorous. We like to joke around, and sometimes our jokes don't come across exactly very comfortable. We're kind of blunt, but they're meant to be funny. They're meant to be jokesters and teasing, and that's one of the things I like about our people. We're hard worker. You'll hear all our people that's how we live. We, like everyone else, working hard. Grateful to have a job, that's big. Lots of entrepreneurship.
How about next we talk about being an elder? That's something you're an expert at.
When I was asked about the elder, I got caught off guard because I just live my life as best I can. For the community to select me as an elder was kind of, first off, it was a great honor, but it was, I always said I'm not an elder, just an old guy, a person growing older, and they told me I can't be calling myself just an older anymore. If we were to take that more seriously, we do have elders here that are very awesome elders. So we have great examples. Elsie Yannick, who passed away, and very spiritual lady, and very kind and generous and loving. And then we had Elsie Cardinal, and we have our Anne today, and they're such beautiful and gentle people. If we could model ourselves after those elders, would be half as good as them would be decent people,
Great examples. Now, we have a ton of events about all the different events that we host, and we want our employees involved in these events.
Well, they're trying to tell stories, aren't they? Like the Métis Festival is a storytelling, the Louis Riel Day is a storytelling, our Christmas parties, all the events we do is trying to show our young people and this community that we have a great history, a great culture, and we're trying to tell our story. That's how I see it.
And Louis Riel, you just mentioned his name, and I know that's somebody you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about him? What I consider one of the fathers of Confederation.
Yes, he designed for Manitoba they call it Provisional Government, Provisional Act, which they then turned into acts for the provinces. So he was also elected actually to Confederation when Manitoba tried to join Confederation. So that's why we call him the father of Confederation. But deeper than that for us, he died. So he died for the cause. And if you know what that means, that's a martyr. You're a martyr when you die for a cause. And to his lawyers and his people, you got to be insane, man, to want to just die for this cause. Sorry, I know I'm quite sane. I know what I'm doing. And I want you guys to respect the Métis and the Métis rights and the Métis people here.
He died fighting for the Métis people. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brian, and welcoming all those who will watch this video. We couldn't be more happy to have you join us. So welcome aboard, and we look forward to seeing you around the office, at our events, and learning more about Métis history and culture.
Yes, welcome aboard.